Guten Morgen und herzlich willkommen zu unserem Webinar zu Tipps zu öffentlichen Ausschreibungen für Kroatien und Bosnien und Herzegowina. Wir warten noch auf einige Teilnehmer. Das heißt, wir geben denen noch 1, 2 Minuten, dass sich alle zuschalten können und dann geht's los. In der Zwischenzeit darf ich mich schon einmal kurz vorstellen. Die nächste Slide bitte. Unser Webinar haben wir organisiert gemeinsam zwischen dem Außenwirtschaftscenter in Zagreb und dem Außenwirtschaftscenter in Sarajevo. Mein Name ist Marta Suda, ich bin die Wirtschaftsdelegierte in Bosnien und Herzegowina und ich möchte mich herzlich bedanken bei meiner Kollegin, der Dominika Pratic, die sehr viel Vorarbeit für dieses Webinar geleistet hat. Ganz kurz die administrativen Details. Unser Webinar wird aufgezeichnet. Sie erhalten im Nachhinein sowohl den Link zur Aufzeichnung als auch die Präsentationen zugeschickt. Für Fragen, die während den Präsentationen aufkommen, bitte gerne den Chat benutzen. Während den Präsentationen werden wir Fragen soweit möglich im Chat beantworten. Wenn wir Zeit haben, haben wir für den Schluss noch eine Q&A-Runde geplant. Sollte es Fragen geben, die wir im Rahmen des Webinars nicht beantworten können, melden wir uns im Nachhinein per E-Mail. Das Webinar, unsere Vorträge werden auf Englisch stattfinden. Das heißt, vor den Vorträgen switchen wir dann die Sprache. Ganz kurz zu unserem Programm. Wir haben einen Überblick für Sie über Projekte, über Ausschreibungen in Kroatien und Bosnien und Herzegowina. Zuerst bekommen wir einen Überblick von der EBRD, von Herrn Torrente Resch, der uns aktuelle Projekte und Tipps und Tricks zu Ausschreibungen im Zusammenhang mit der EBRD gibt. Danach haben wir Experten aus Kroatien und Bosnien und Herzegowina, die zu lokalen Ausschreibungen und Projekten sprechen werden. I'm going to switch to English now. A short recap for the people who just joined in the last few minutes. Our webinar will be recorded. You will receive the link to the recording as well as the presentations afterwards. For questions, please use the chat. And now I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Torrente from EBRD. I kindly ask him to share the screen with his presentation. And we are already very, very curious about some of the information we will hear now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta, and thank you for the little presentation and for giving me this opportunity to present today about EBRD public procurement opportunities in Bosnia and in Croatia. A short presentation about myself. My name is Rafael Torrente. I am Project Implementation Advisor at EBRD. I look after the Western Balkan region mostly. I'm currently based in Zagreb, and my background is I'm a civil engineer and environmental engineer. So the presentation today will be divided in 3 main parts, if I may say. The first one is a short introduction about EBRD procurement opportunities, where to find procurement opportunities within EBRD. And the second part is divided in 2 parts, which is like current and upcoming procurement opportunities in Bosnia, but also in Croatia. So in terms of EBRD, I work at the Procurement Policy and Advisory Department. So in terms of, let's say, procurement in EBRD, we have 2 main departments. One is POD, which is Procurement Operation and Delivery Department. Basically, POD focuses on corporate procurement, all those services and goods that are being procured by the bank in itself. Here it's a very interesting aspect because there are many consultancy opportunities for preparation of feasibility studies, project preparation, financial modeling, etc. And it's usually not too much known. I will explain later in details where to find more information regarding EBRD corporate procurement. And then my department, in which it's called PPAD. we focus mostly on public procurement sector, right? So our main functions is about ensuring that there is compliance, quality review function. We also provide advisory services to our clients. And lastly, we have some sort of like project implementation function within the department. But when talking about public procurement, we are referring about those projects that are fully implemented by the client. I will explain a little bit better what does it mean, what are the implications of those projects. Main principles of EBRD procurement, like any other public procurement sector, we aim to make an efficient use of the funds that are being lended by the bank, obviously through an efficient procurement method, in trying to ensuring a fair and opening international competition. And within our bank, there are no quotas, there are no limitations, there are no preferences or any sort of restriction in terms of competition. Any national, any entity around the globe that has not been debarred or blacklisted can participate in any of our public procurement processes. Right. I mean, there are other considerations such as like the clients, they need to comply with our procurement policies and rules as well as different banks' policies. All those procurement policies are captured under EBRD procurement policies and rules. It's a document that I would not recommend you to read. And standalone is mostly like a consultation document where there are indications about the detailed rules under public sector, also under private sector, and lastly as part of consultancy services, right? More information can be found at the link provided here in this slide. And the latest version is 2022, but we are currently undergoing a new revision of our public procurement procedures. Main principles captured there pretty much align with the main principles of public procurement. As I mentioned, there is no eligibility restriction. Suppliers and contractors and consultants are given equal opportunities to submit a tender or a proposal. And obviously, those suppliers or consultants or contractors, they need to demonstrate that they have the required capacity and capabilities to conduct the works that they are for which they are participating in a tender procedure. Yes, small notes on the bank's role. We, as I mentioned before, we advise the clients through the course and the project implementation process, not only about the procurement during the procurement section, but also during the implementation part of the project. The bank reviews potential procurement complaints or also project complaints at any level. We take review at any critical stage of the project implementation, meaning we review evaluation reports, we review the documents, we review contract amendments, any critical deliverable for the project that might involve modification or change to the project. And then in private sector, we undertake a small due diligence for all those private sector projects. Important thing I would like to highlight, EBRD is a financing bank, meaning we are not a project implementation agency. Many people, they consider that EBRD is the one in charge in conducting the evaluation, in preparing tender documents and so on. In accordance to our procurement policies and rules, it's client's responsibility to implement the project. They know what they want, how they want, when they want it, etc. So they're the ones responsible for preparing tender documents, conducting the evaluation, implementing the project, and so on and so forth. Again, the bank supervises the processes, provides no objection at each key stage. But it's ultimately client's decision if they would like to go ahead with, I don't know, certain technologies, certain technical decisions or whatsoever. Right, so now let's talk about where to find opportunities here. There are, in my view, two main sources of information that you had to take into consideration. And if you don't know them, please go and register right now. The first one is EBRD procurement platform for public sector. It's called ECEPP, here highlighted in red color. Originally, we have a link in our EBRD website. I will show you later some examples, but this is where all public procurement notices are being published. So it's like any electronic procurement platform that you might have experience in any country nowadays, where invitations, submission of tenders, notifications, clarifications are being conducted. Specific for public procurement, those contracts that are being financed and implemented by our clients. If we talk about EBRD corporate procurement, there is a website called EBRD Smart. You can type in any search bar in Google or whatsoever ECEPP or EBRD Smart, and it will bring you directly to the link where all the corporate procurement activities are being published. As I mentioned before, mostly consultancy services to be provided to the bank, but it's quite an interesting entry door to the bank and its projects. Although we have those websites, we always encourage our clients to publish in national press, in their websites, and so on. I'm going to go a bit faster because I will run out of time. So what to look for? Project pipeline. In our website, you will be able to find a sort of like a tentative list of projects that might not be signed in the near future. So you can get an idea of where projects might happen and in which countries. General procurement notices. This is a very interesting point here. So during the project preparation at the bank, when EBRD has certainty together with the client that the project will take off and will be implemented, we encourage our clients to issue or to publish general procurement notice where there is a general description about the project. We indicate about general volume of the project, tentative time for initiating any sort of tendering, what's the scope of the project, and lastly, very important, information about contact details about the client, where interested participants, tenderers, consultants, contractors can already contact the client and show your interest, get to know each other, and establish this first contact there. Needless say, invitation for pre-qualification or tendering. It's also some other information that should be considered when looking for opportunities at EBRD. That's I want to show you a little example of how EBRD website looks like. If you type ebrd.com, you will go to the main site, and then there will be EBRD procurement website, where you will be able to find from a link to the ECEPP up to different procurement notice. I think there is also the contract pipeline and the EBRD public sector, access to our standard procurement documents, and so on and so forth. This website is being updated on a monthly basis, so I recommend you to enter here and there and consult the additional information that is provided there. This is also to show you, so if you enter in EBRD ECEPP, the procurement platform for public sector, well, it's free. Anybody can register. It's free. There is no cost assigned. There is also no cost for participation in any public sector tender, and you can just simply type by country, by sector, or whatsoever, and then the search bar will show you all the previous notifications, but also all the new ones that are active in ECEPP. So a list similar to this one. So if you type Bosnia, all the projects and notifications related to Bosnia will be presented. Right. So now the second part, of the presentation. So in relation to Bosnia, I have to highlight it that from a public sector perspective, Bosnia is one of our largest countries of operations. We are really active in the country, mostly in highways, roads, infrastructure, municipal infrastructure, water, and lastly, energy as well. In particular, solar energy. So those are the sectors that where we are financing projects, and we are having either projects that are being implemented or projects that are being under preparation. So I just want to give a short brief of ongoing tender activities in this slide, which is the rehabilitation of Zenica Hospital. In this particular case, we need architectural support from consultancy services up to contractors that they will need to refurbish the entire hospital in Zenica. We are currently conducting tendering process for tunnel brain construction works. It's an 11-kilometer tunnel, part of the Corridor 5C highway in Bosnia. The subsequent supervision services are being tendered at the moment, and we also have a few tenders in the rehabilitation, reconstruction, or refurbishment of public buildings in Banja Luka. Energy efficiency is perhaps one of the hot sectors that might come in the near future. So we have also Tuzla public building project. It's of the same nature, like rehabilitation of public buildings in Tuzla area. We are also working on, these are upcoming projects, so that means that tenderers might follow up in the next 5 to 6 months. Variable shunt reactor with Transco company in Bosnia also is a project that is ongoing. And Mostar North, Mostar South motorway project is a loan or is a project that has been approved. Client is currently preparing tender documentation. So there will be certainly works contract, supervision services, I think also project implementation support, consultancy services coming up in coming months. As well as Ivanice water and wastewater, it's a project that is being currently under preparation. Again, works contract, consultancy services for supervision might be needed. And lastly, also we are preparing also another potential project for Sarajevo district heating, and that's in a nutshell the current opportunities in Bosnia. There might be additional ones coming up, so please register in ECEPP, consult it here and there, and there you will be able to find perhaps even additional tenders or procurement opportunities there. Lastly, I wanted to highlight, for example, in terms of EBRD Corporate, we have currently open consultancy tender for comprehensive anti-corruption action plan for the Motorways Federation company. So if there is any in the audience, any consultant interested, please go to SMART, not to ECPP. In the SMART website, you will be able to find all the relevant information. Now, regarding Croatia, it remains a strong client for the bank. The public sector component is more limited than in Bosnia in comparison. We still have certain contracts and certain projects going on. One of them, for example, is the split water purification project. Tenders for construction of the purification water plant for the related supervision are currently ongoing. However, we are expecting to launch shortly an invitation for consultancy services for financial and operational performance and implementation program, what's called FOPIP. In coming months, this invitation will be launched. And we are also currently financing and evaluating a tender procedure for HEPGO Green project, which is an implementation of 70 megawatt photovoltaic solar plant in Croatia, in the south of Croatia. Other exploratory projects in energy, municipal infrastructure, communication are currently being developed, but they are really early stage in Croatia, so I'm not able to share more details. But certainly, once those are well known, they will be published in ECPP or the relevant sources, as I mentioned before. Just one last note. Participate, please. I encourage you to do. When I say we, EBRD together with our clients, we really need your expertise. We really need your knowledge. I think that Austrian companies, they have a lot to provide in terms of technology, knowledge, experience, capacity, capabilities. So please do not hesitate to participate. And here are my contact details. I remain at your disposal if there is anything I can do for you or help you in any case. I hope. Sorry for exceeding a little bit my time.
No problem at all. I will keep the beginning and the end short anyway. We always calculate a bit more time for content. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's always good getting an overview and a bit more detail on how things are really organized. Now I'm welcoming our expert from Croatia, Ariana Vela. She's going to talk about public procurement in transport and environment in Croatia. So I kindly invite you to share your screen with your presentation.
Okay, I hope you can see it. So hello to everybody. I hope you're having a nice day, and I will try to be as fast as I can due to time limitations. My task for today is to give you some insight in public procurement in Croatia, with emphasis to the transport and environment sectors. So let's just get into it. This is our short roadmap for today. I will give you a few information about my company and what we do. Some information on the public procurement in general in Croatia, opportunities when it comes to the sectors of transport, environment, and a few tips and tricks, of course, that can help you to get on the way or to continue with your activities regarding the public procurement. So when it comes to Avelant, we are a consulting company. We deal with preparation and implementation of EU-funded and projects that are funded from other sources. We prepare and implement public procurement procedures for the tenders and for the bidders. And also, we are the owners of the first college for EU funding and public procurement and project management in Croatia, maybe still also in the region. In the last couple of years, we worked on all the strategic documents that were prepared for Croatia for this time frame, for this financial perspective. We worked on some of the largest public procurement and some of the largest projects in Croatia in the last 20 years. And maybe the last, but not the least information is that a couple of years ago, we became consultants for McKinsey & Company for EU funds, but also for public procurement. Some of the projects that we prepared and implemented, you can see here, some of them you probably already know about, and some of them a little less, but some of the portfolio you can see here. Now, when it comes to public procurement in Croatia, there are a few things that we have to know and we have to follow if you want to be a part of the whole process. First of all, knowing the Public Procurement Act. Second of all, knowing about the bylaws that are also very important, as you already know, but also follow what's going on with cases and with suits that happen in front of the State Commission for Supervision of Public Procurement Procedures, as well as High Administrative Court, because they're the ones that actually are giving us additional judicial and commission practice that shows us how different cases are going to be settled if somebody appeals or if somebody decides to put in a lawsuit. When it comes to Public Procurement Act in Croatia, we had amendments in 2022. They were very small amendments, but very important in terms of procedure and in terms of certain issues that were very often disputed in front of the Commission and in front of the court. But the main act was adopted in 2016, and it is completely in compliance with EU regulation. Now, in 2023, according to according to the official statistics that are being published every year for public procurement in Croatia, we had over 12 billion euro in the value of public procurement, which is a little less than 20% of our GDP, and this number increases annually. We had a slight drop in 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemics. However, this number is continually growing and growing, meaning there are a lot of opportunities.
Ariana, sorry. Could you just start your presentation once again? We don't see the full screen and the slides are not moving. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, well, let's just keep it and let's just go through that, because you heard everything that I already said, so we can skip everything to the public procurement slide. So let's just go to that one. Okay, so let's hit the next one. Okay, thank you. So this is what I was talking about. So there are a lot of opportunities. And last year we had a little less than 31,000 contracts that were actually done through the public procedures, public procurement procedures in Croatia. And the number, as well as the number of the value, is increasing on annual basis. Now, we also within the statistics always have the largest tenders, the top 10, are being highlighted and emphasized within the statistics. And these are usually City of Zagreb, because they have the second biggest budget in the country after the state budget, Croatian Roads, Hrvatske vode, Plinacro, Ministry of Health. So these are the organizations, the public organizations that usually make the top 10, and they were as well top 10 last year. Now, as far as the bylaws that I mentioned apply, we have 7 key bylaws, and they pretty much regulate all the procedural issues that have to do with public procurement. As I said, commission and judicial practice are also very important to follow because of the cases that happen over there. And this is a very active, also a very, very active field, and a lot of things are going on over there. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Just please hit the mouse again. Now, for the ones that have not been participating in public procurements in Croatia, we always have to know the thresholds. So when it comes to goods and services, everything that's below 26,560 euros is called simplified procurement, which means that the law is not applied. Everything that equals this amount, this threshold, as well as the threshold for works, is when we have to apply the law, and everything where it's being published and how transparent the system is, you're going to see on the next slide. So let's please move to the next slide. Okay, so the process is as transparent as possible. We now have a new electronic public procurement portal. This is a state portal, which is managed by a state company, and you can see all the public procurements over there. When we teach public procurement at our college, we always say this is one of the most important websites, not just because you can find all the tenders over there, but you can also find all the announcements, and you can also find all the preliminary advisory procedures, which I will tell you a little bit later, are very important for you to get the information about the procurements that you're interested in at the right time. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And of course, I've placed a few links for different websites on this slide. So when you get this presentation, please make sure to follow them because they're very important for you. Tenders Electronic Daily, or TED, you probably already know about. There is also a website, actually a public procurement portal, which is managed by our Ministry of Economy, who is actually in charge of the law, its amendments, and the most important thing about the law, its implementation, its practice, is actually being published on this website. 2 additional websites that I already mentioned are here: State Commission for Supervision of Public Procurement Procedures, and you can see all their decisions over there, and that's very important. Still can't search according to certain regulation within the Public Procurement Act, or in terms of certain subjects or themes that are of your interest, but still you can follow them on different by different filters. So it's very important to follow it. When it comes to High Administrative Court of the Republic of Croatia, you will not see the whole practice, but there are certain cases that are being published. We are now pushing through for the court to start publishing all its practice for all the lawsuits, because very often the decisions of the State Commission and the Administrative Court are different, which is very important, of course, especially in the large-scale public procurement procedures. So these are the websites that you have to follow. Let's skip to the next slide. Now, some general notes when you're looking for a specific public procurement. First of all, on the website that I've showed you, on the portal where the procurement procedures are being published, you can see all the procurement plans of all the organizations that are obliged to implement procedures according to the law. So you can see them, and they're being adopted on annual basis. They're being amended, but you can see them, and you can see the types of procedures, exact procedures, timing, estimated values, and everything that's of importance for your plans. Secondary information is that there is a thing that is called a preliminary consultation within the law, which is always mandatory when it comes to works and when it comes to large-scale public procedures. This means that the most important parts of the specific tender is being published in advance for interested participants to consult, to provide their comments, so that the tenderer can actually amend the documentation prior to publishing of the tender notice. So this is a situation that most of the tenderers tend not to use, and they usually complain about the content of a specific tender only when it's published, or only when they're not satisfied with the decision that was adopted within the procedure. So use the preliminary consultations. I do have the tip on some of the other slides, but it's very important. Also, I've told you both of the websites. One is Tenders Electronic Daily. The other one is our portal for all the procurements. These are the things that you have to follow on daily basis to see whether there are opportunities for you. You have to plan in advance, not plan when the procurement is already published. And of course, one additional and very important thing, a lot of public procurements in Croatia, especially in the sectors of transport and in the sectors of environment, are being EU funded. Meaning you can actually, by taking a look at the strategic documents, which are financing programs that were adopted for this financial perspective, within those documents, you can find the projects and the types of investments or the grant scheme through which the secondary procurements are going to be published. So you can know about the procurement, for example, in the railway system that's going to happen in, I don't know, 2026 or 2027, just by looking into the right strategic document. And that's what you have to do, because preparing large tenders and bids for large tenders starts much earlier than when the actual procurement is being published or announced. Let's skip to the next slide, please. Okay, so when it comes to transport, we'll see on the next slide what's happening in that area. So in the transport sector, which I already say, we can skip to the next slide. Most of the projects, not exclusively, but most of them are funded by EU funds. You have seen on one of the previous slides, some of the projects that we worked on in terms of transport, they were all EU funded. And there are 3 programs that you have to check if you want to see what are the opportunities in terms of projects that are going to be implemented. And within those projects, we will have secondary procurements. So it's competitiveness and cohesion. It's integrated territorial program and certain rural measures for smaller projects or for smaller local roads. But the large ones are actually being published within the first 2 ones. So what can be financed or what can be procured in the transport sector? It's roads within the TEN-T corridor, it's railway infrastructure, it's seaports, it's alternative propulsion, trams, buses, boats, and ferries, now tending to go into the green. So so mind that as well. And also different types of projects within public transport. Most of them include infrastructure and goods. So usually large-scale projects within these sectors. Let's skip to the next slide. And let's see what's happening in the environment sector. So within the environment sector, also similar situation as within the transport. The same 3 programs that are actually in charge for funding most of the projects that will have secondary procurements within them, but different types of projects, of course, waste and wastewater projects, large-scale ones, energy efficiency within production, energy efficiency in public and private buildings, renewables in all the types of projects, environmental protection, biodiversity, natura, and projects like that. And of course, one huge question and one huge issue for Croatia is also waste in general. So these are the main topics and main procurements that you can expect within the transport sector and within the environmental sector in the next couple of years. And let's say that we are expecting a small drop after 2027, 2028, because the financial perspective will be closing. So the most opportunities you can expect in the upcoming 2 to 3 years. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So what to do? Please move to the next slide and the next slide. So first, what we have to see is what are the main mistakes that the participants or the bidders do. And we work with a lot of them. Sometimes they're not even aware of the mistakes they're making and they're losing money on that. They usually engage too late. I already mentioned that. A lot of our clients that are bidders usually tell us when the decision has already been adopted, but we're not satisfied with what was the content of tender documentation. And that was, you could have kind of appealed, but not now. You could have appealed in the previous stage of the procedure, which is what you have to do. Either ask for clarifications, amendments of the tender dossier, or appeal if nothing else works. Usually not participating in the preliminary consultations. Sometimes it's a strategic decision, but sometimes our clients that are actually public bodies that implement those procedures do want to get some comments within the preliminary consultations so they can make their tenders better and better adjusted to the needs of the bidders. I've already mentioned what happens when you want to amend the tender dossier after the bids are already placed, and appealing to the tender documentation after the decision in the procedure has already been made. Also, some issues that we noticed are connected to the competent experts that don't comply with their expertise, does not comply with the requirements of the tender. Sometimes bidders don't understand the requirements in terms of technical expertise. Most of the time, mistakes are made when the guarantees that are being provided within the procedures are not compliant with the requirements of the tender, and the Commission is pretty strict about that as well as the court. Failing to understand the contractual obligations once the contract has actually been enforced. Also, deliverables, we had cases when deliverables were not compliant to requirements. Huge issues and huge disputes happen afterwards. Delays in fulfilling contractual obligations, and usually, which is really strange to me, but it happens very often to a lot of companies, not understanding the complete legal framework that is actually in regard to the contract. And of course, when the issue arrives or arises, then a problem actually arises and it's really difficult to solve them. It's not only the fault of the bidder, it's sometimes also the responsibility of the public body, because usually if we don't have like those large scale procurements where the contracts are usually done through FIDIC and where they are really discussed and they're really strict and worked on with different experts. With the smaller procurements, usually the contracts are very light, and they usually do not consider all the options that need to be a part and all the regulation that actually needs to be a part of a certain contract. So, for example, when you want to amend it, then there is a problem. Okay, let's switch to the next slide, and we can fix those problems by starting to work before the publication of the tender, by understanding the legal framework better, by reading through the tender dossier and its documents thoroughly, by appealing if you consider it necessary. Now, the amounts of fees that you need to pay for the appeal has been increased, which has also influenced the number of appeals, and the number of appeals has been decreased in the last year after the amendments of the law. However, if you're strong about your case, do appeal. Of course, take a look and mind the expertise and prove that you provided within your bid, meet the deadlines, understand your expertise. But what is very important, try to educate your team as much as possible. Try to follow the practice that's going on in the sector. If you need help of experts for fine-tuning of your bids or fine-tuning of your contracts or amending of your contracts, please don't hesitate to engage them. And of course, be very careful when it comes to EU-funded procurements. We are usually invited to jump in when there is an EU-funded procurement because of the strict rules and because of the irregularities that public bodies usually face. And in those situations, it is very difficult to fix a problem so that everybody is satisfied. Okay, let's let's skip to the next slide. What we can help you with is pretty much assess your needs, track the procurements, explaining documentation, preparing of bids, preparing of appeals and other different documents and explanations that are required within the procedure, and of course managing of your public procurement contracts and managing the amendments. We do it for the bidders, but we do it also for the public bodies within the procedures that they implement. We can also do the education. So let's just skip to the next slide. Some of the educations that we do, and one of the most important when it comes to public procurement, is the specialist training program in the field of public procurement for your local experts, for your local employees. It's not a mandatory thing to have the certificate of public procurement, but it's a good thing to have an expert in the team who understands the procedure from A to Z. So this is all from me. If you need any information about the procurements that are currently on the way, feel free to contact me. My contacts are at the end of this presentation. I did not put any procurement procedures, exact ones on the slides, because currently in Croatia, in both sectors, there are hundreds of public procurements that are published. So it would be very difficult to extract any of them. Thank you very much. Feel free to contact me or ask any additional questions.
Thank you very much, Ariana, for your presentation. I now welcome Josip Jokovac, our expert for the Bosnian and Herzegovinian market. Josip, we calculated the time I need at the end very generously, so you have your whole 15 minutes for your presentation.
Okay,
thank you.
Good morning, everyone, or good day. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Josip Jokovac. I'm a lawyer by education and certified trainer of public procurement, and I was a member of teams who drafted public procurement laws and bylaws and everything regarding it in last 16 years. So I'm going to give you some basic information on public procurement in Bosnia and Herzegovina. First of all, we have around 3,095 contracting authorities, meaning 3,095 institutions are obliged to comply with the law and to procure in accordance with the law. And we have more than 17,000 bidders, out of which are some 4,000 foreign bidders, and I've checked 82 Austrian bidders. And it's important to know that foreign bidders are allowed to participate in Bosnian public procurement, meaning it is strictly forbidden to discriminate any foreign bidder from public procurement in Bosnia. If foreign bidder is discriminated, he can or she can appeal and then cancel the whole procedure. That's first thing you need to know. The size of Bosnian PP market is, last informations are 4.4 billion marks, which is 2.2 billion euros, and it goes from 8 to 12% of GDPs from year to year. It goes up and down in last 15 years. So meaning huge amount of money is spent on public procurement in Bosnia and Herzegovina. What you need to know regarding legal framework, it's public procurement law. Then you can find it on the agency websites. I will provide it with links. Then relevant bylaws, some 15 of them. And it is also important that you know there are other relevant laws. For instance, contract law. When you sign, you use public procurement law until you sign the contract. When you sign a contract, then you use contract law. On the other hand, for instance, in a situation where you appeal to PRB or Court of Bosnia and Herzegovina, law on administrative procedure is used. On the other hand, if you already won the contract and you are building something, construction law is used. And so you need to know public procurement framework law, bylaws, meaning public procurement framework, but you have to know some other laws that are connected with what you do in your business. Regarding system, There are main institutions in Bosnia-Herzegovina, one of which is a public procurement agency, and we have public review body. Public procurement agency is in charge for electronic procurement, drafting laws, monitoring of public procurement, education, 11 jurisdictions. The other important institution is public review body. Their only job is to do the appeals. Then you have prosecutor's office, court of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and all of those institutions are in charge for enforcing public procurement law. There are some stages of procurement, like in every country. The first stage is planning and preparation of procurement. The other stage is tendering, and the third stage is evaluation and award. And there are, like in Europe, you have open procedure, open tendering, meaning that everyone can submit a bid. You have restricted tendering, where only the qualified bidders can submit the bid, and negotiated procedure, where contracting authority negotiates with the companies that they find suitable for some specific contracts. Foreign bidders must know that the contracting authorities will prepare tender documentation in one of the official languages of Bosnia-Herzegovina. We have 3 official languages, Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian, and contracting authority will prepare documents on one of those languages. But contracting authorities can prepare tender documents in some other languages. Usually it's English, and usually they do so in terms of some big value and complicated procurement. When contracting authority is expecting foreign bidders to apply, you will find the tender documents in English language as well. You also need to know that you must submit your bid in official languages of Bosnia-Herzegovina. You can have some documents, for instance, certificates, catalogs, and other documents in, for instance, original language, English or some other language, but the bid must be in official language of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to participate in the procurement further on. The most important thing, the most important place where you can inform yourself on public procurement in Bosnia is Public Procurement Portal. It's EGN Government BA, and it is centralized platform for every public procurement process. I also need to say that contracting authorities, whether it's 1 Bosnian mark or 10 or 100 million Bosnian mark procurements, contracting authorities are obliged to comply with public procurement law, with the exception of, for instance, EBRD procedures or World Bank procedures or some other procedure that is exempted from public procurement law. But in a case of Bosnian contracting authorities, they are obliged, when they're spending their money, not credits, not grants, they are obliged to comply with the law. Another thing, at Public Procurement Portal, it's free to register. My advice, go there, register. Everything is published there, from public procurement plans to notices, to tender documents, then some decisions on the awards. But it is important to say, without registration, you can access public procurement plans and notices, but you are not going to be able to see tender documents without registration. It's free of charge. Please do it. Another thing important, Portal is a central place where you can inform yourself on public procurement. You can even set to get notifications. If you're interested in, for instance, in constructions, to set notifications, you will get notification in every time your, for instance, public procurement notice on construction is published. But not yet e-offers and e-contracting modules are available. The Public Procurement Agency prepared those modules, but due to challenges with other systems like taxes and core databases, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a very complicated country due to our constitutional structure, and it's very hard to find mutual language for instance, to have one court databases and stuff like that. And that's the reason why e-offers and e-contractings are not implemented yet. This is our portal, but you can see down in the left, there is a new version of a portal, Next EGN Government BA, and you can use it in English language, and it's very resourceful. Try this new version last few months. It is ongoing last few months. Regarding tender process, the first stage is tender announcement. I already mentioned it is done on public procurement portal, but contracting authorities can also use some other publication channel like newspapers, some website, and stuff like that. And the other important stuff is bid submission deadlines. For instance, if public procurement is a low value, it will be 10 days. If it's big value, it is mandatory 45 days. Then bid preparation. For foreign companies, the most important thing is what documents are required for them to qualify for the procurement, and what documents to include in their bid when they submit their proposal. Evaluation and award. We have evaluation criteria. First of all, you have to be qualified. What does it mean? It means that you are registered for your business, that you are paying your taxes, and that you are not punished previously. And when you are qualified for the procurement, you have to, of course, be compliant with the specification. Award decisions are also published on the portals. The contracting authorities can choose to publish it on their websites, and of course they must send notification on awards to every bidder that participated in a contract, and bidders can file an appeal if they're not satisfied, if they think that there was a breach of public procurement law and stuff like that. And then contract signing. So there are indeed some challenges for foreign companies in Bosnia and Herzegovina. First of all, bureaucracy. Sometimes public procurement tends to be bureaucratic in Bosnia and Herzegovina. People leading public procurement processes choose to be more bureaucratic than to spare some money and to choose some, for instance, economically better bid. They just say, okay, you're missing one paper in your bid, you are disqualified from the procedure. Another thing is language and documentation issue. You have to be careful about language, and you have to find some translator if you're not speaking native languages, and also what documents will you present in your bid. You can, if you register for your business and your Austrian company, of course you register at the Austrian court. You will provide that document in your bid. And it is important to mention, but it is a risk, corruption and transparency. Unfortunately, Bosnia is fighting a battle with corruption, and unfortunately public procurement is perceived as one of the corrupted fields because there's a lot of money in a play, and of course some people that tend to be corrupted are sneaking around, so you have to be careful. Regarding business opportunities and public procurement, first of all, infrastructure development. There is a Corridor 5C. It's a big project. There are a lot of tenders regarding it. Then real estate is really booming in the last few years. Renewable energy market is also booming in the last few years. Many local communities are actively involved in it. Then tourism is getting more important role in our economy than technology solutions and consulting services. These fields are going to be very important for our economy now and will be very important in our future. And just to briefly to advise you, if you're a foreign company, Austrian company, trying to find your place in the Bosnian market, engage with the local experts, engage with the local company, find your allies here that will help you to find some business opportunities and to explore market opportunities. That's all. I'm here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to quickly give you an overview about the possibilities, about the services that you can get from Advantage Austria in Croatia and Zagreb from our Ausschreibungsverfahren. Since all of our listeners are members of the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, you do get services from us. We are here to support you in your markets. I'm going to switch back to German for this part, and then at the end we will return to English for the questions. Wie Sie vermutlich kennen, gibt es die Internationalisierungsoffensive, eine gemeinsame Förderinitiative der WKÖ mit dem Bundesministerium für Arbeit und Wirtschaft. Im Rahmen von dieser Initiative gibt es Direktförderungen. Im Zusammenhang mit Ausschreibungen möchte ich Ihnen den Projektgeschäftscheck empfehlen. Es gibt hier Unterstützung, wenn Sie new to project sind. Das heißt, für das gegenständliche Projekt haben Sie in den letzten 3 Jahren noch keine Go International Förderung erhalten. Die Förderung gibt es für KMU und Großunternehmen, für projektbezogene Kostenberatung, Feasibility Studies etc. Und die Detailinformationen, die Detailberatung zu den Direktförderungen bekommen Sie bei Ihrer Landeskammer. Wir haben Ihnen den Link in die Präsentation eingefügt, dort kriegen Sie mehr Informationen. Dann auf der nächsten Slide haben wir noch Informationen zu unseren Projektlisten, die es sowohl am Außenwirtschaftscenter in Sarajevo als auch in Zagreb gibt. Und diese Listen beinhalten Informationen zu aktuellen Projekten in Bosnien und Herzegowina zu den Bereichen Verkehrsinfrastruktur, Energiewirtschaft und erneuerbare Energien sowie Umwelttechnik und in Kroatien zu den Bereichen Wasserversorgung, Abwasserversorgung und Kläranlagen. Diese Informationen gibt es kostenpflichtig bei unseren Außenwirtschaftszentren. Wenn Sie Interesse haben, bitte schicken Sie uns ein kurzes E-Mail. Sie bekommen dann gerne detaillierte Informationen, damit Sie sehen, ist diese Projektliste für Sie sinnvoll. Außerdem haben wir regelmäßig Veranstaltungen. Die haben wir Ihnen auf der nächsten Slide kurz zusammengefasst. In diesem Jahr organisiert das Außenwirtschaftscenter Sarajevo im November eine allgemeine Wirtschaftsmission. In dem Zusammenhang können wir selbstverständlich auch für Unternehmen aus dem Umwelttechnologiesektor, aus dem Verkehrssektor, aus den erneuerbaren Energien B2B-Termine veranstalten. Im Außenwirtschaftscenter Zagreb gibt es heuer noch 2 fachspezifische Veranstaltungen. Im Oktober die Wirtschaftsmission Railway, Korridore Kroatien und im November die Wirtschaftsmission Wasser, Abwasser, Kläranlagen und Leakage nach Kroatien. Auf der Slide haben Sie jeweils die Links zu unseren Veranstaltungen. Auf ein Event in Wien möchte ich Sie noch aufmerksam machen, und zwar zum Danube Region Business Summit am 6. November, eine große internationale Wirtschaftskonferenz in Wien, bei der auch unsere Themen von heute eine große Relevanz haben werden. Wir haben hier Sprecher aus unserer Region und ich bin mir sicher, das wird eine großartige Veranstaltung. Gut, dann darf ich kurz auf die Fragen eingehen, die wir im Chat haben. Ich sehe ganz am Anfang eine Frage nach Kroatien. Ich darf hier auch I'm going to switch back to English now for the questions. I'm inviting our speakers to join me, to turn on their cameras and microphones again. We have one question for Croatia. Are there tenders for new construction or reconstruction of petrol stations with regard to environmental protection and safety? Ariana, do you have information on that, or should we?
I cannot say by heart because I don't follow. I don't understand what it means in terms of environmental protection. So I would have to get some additional information. But when it comes to those tenders, it depends on who is actually the body that's gonna implement the procurement is going to be the body that is in concession of a specific road. So pretty much of a specific highway. It could be Croatian highways, it could be Croatian roads, it could be different municipalities, but it's usually the petrol stations are usually in concessions on highways and on state roads. So what you should check within the public procurement portal that I've shown you, you have to find the CPV, which is the Common Procurement Vocabulary for the specific tender, and then just place it in the search engine, and it's going to pop out all the tenders that are possibly open in that regard. I know that certain parts are being renewed. However, with these issues, especially when it comes to the motorways, usually the petrol stations are also in concession of a specific area. So when they do procure services, goods, or works, they usually do it as private entities. So it pretty much depends on who actually got the contract to manage a certain part of the highway and to manage a specific petrol station. And the same thing is with the state roads.
Thank you very much. There has been another question relevant for subcontractors. What is the best way to find out which construction companies won the tender? Us at our offices, we do have this information as well. So please always feel free to contact us, but maybe our speakers have an additional recommendation where you can find this information.
You can
maybe. Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
No. You do. I already spoke.
Okay, you can check on procurement portal. I provided you with the link. You can check notifications on awards. You have advanced search options. You can put the CPV code that you're interested in, and you'll get all the awards since 2016, including now, of course.
Perfect.
But you will have to go award decision by award decision, unfortunately, because there is no search engine that enables you to see the complete list of the bidders that actually were awarded a contract.
Which is where our services come into play, because we have the possibility to provide you with that information and cut the research a bit short for our companies. There has been another question for infrastructure, especially tunnels. Are there tenders for increasing safety in tunnels, underground construction and mines, like the development of a new type of pressure absorber in the event of a methane gas explosion in the tunnel?
It's usually when there is a specific section of roads that includes tunnels, when it's being constructed or reconstructed, it usually is a part of a bigger tender. But it doesn't have to be so. It depends on a specific need of the company that's actually running a specific road or a specific tunnel, so it can be found. But again, as my colleague told you, this is something that you have to search through the CPV code, or just by placing also the name of the public company that actually manages a specific road. But usually these things are a part of the construction in general. So check it out and maybe try to engage as a subcontractor within the contract that is already awarded or will be awarded.
Good. I have one last question in the chat. Again, for Croatia. Our company representative says that based on our experience, the tender evaluation criteria for many transportation opportunities are based on least cost selection, which strongly reduces the chances of Austrian companies to participate. Are there any considerations to change these to a QBS or QCBS method? And I actually, from my experience, think this question also applies to Bosnia and Herzegovina and EBRD finance tenders.
So for Croatia, when the law was adopted in 2016, we did switch to the best value. We didn't switch. We replaced the lowest price with the best value. However, due to ponders, it usually all drops down to the lowest price. The only thing that you can do in order to change it is what I've already told you in my presentation. So when it comes to large construction projects, they always have to go through the preliminary advisory procedure, where you can require for the tender to eliminate the value of that criteria, or when the procedure has already been published, you can also require for the tender documentation to be amended in that regard. In both situations, the body that's publishing the tender has to reply and has to give you an explanation as to why they are not taking something into consideration. So I do not think, out of my experience, that this is going to be an easy win or it's going to be easy to change it. But if you're stubborn enough and require such amendments a few times, you will start being visible. And when you are visible, then things can actually happen.
How is the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
We don't use it still. We have economical, the lowest price criteria, or meet most economically advantageous tender. So we still use the old criterias like in the previous directives.
There also was a comment from EBRD.
Yeah. So from EBRD side, just to clarify that when we are talking about procurement of works and goods, at the moment our procurement policies and rules, they only reflect the use of the lowest responsive submitted tender. Wherever when we talk about consultancy services, quality-based selection, it's applicable evaluation method. Now, say that we perceive that the evaluation based on the lowest submitted or the lowest responsive tender in some instances might be an unfair approach. So within EBRD, we are developing what's called value for money methodology, where we are inviting our clients to consider certain aspects in their project cycle, cost life cycle of the project, and so on, to include them there in order to increase the value for money and to enhance tenders to submit technical solutions that will not be only focused on providing the cheapest price, but the most efficient and economic solution. There are other IFIs, such as the World Bank, that they are starting to promote the quality-based selection. In our view, one of the problems of the quality-based selection for works or goods is certainly at certain instances it might lead to manipulation of the evaluation outcome. So that's why we are not fully supportive of that approach. But we believe that there are other solutions that we are promoting and developing them, and we are going to be implementing them shortly that might help companies such as Austrian ones, where they tend to present high technology, new technology, new solutions that are not widespread in the market, and that will certainly benefit our clients and ultimately the investment.
Thank you very much. I don't see any further question in the chat, so I think for now we managed to answer all the doubts. If there is any further questions, please feel free to reach out to my colleagues in Zagreb or to my office in Sarajevo. You will get, as mentioned, the presentation also with the contact details of our experts that joined us here today. At this point, thank you very much to our three experts. It was a very good presentation, very informative. Yes, so from my side, thank you very much for your attention and have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good day. Bye.
Bye.